Hey there, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to get the brick painted, and when I say painted I mean basically a sealer coat put on it, actually 2 coats. But you may be able to see I've got some tape off, blue tape around, and what I've done is I've taped the edges of things so that the lines are real crisp, so that when I spray this it doesn't get on that. In a prior video I talked about the LP Smart side and how this siding has areas where it's not touching the brick, and where those areas are I want to make sure I can get this spray up underneath there, because I am going to spray this with my new HEA Titan Airless sprayer. But I'm going to go now and paper mask off everything to cover the areas that are going to be painted, so I can basically, now that I've got these areas taped off, I can just take that paper mask and put it on there and not worry about having to get it real close to the edge and be a fine tuned type of masking. I can just get it up and go on. I'm going to take a big wide piece of paper and put over this, because I don't want any overspray going up in there and sticking on this. And I think I'm going to spray seal the entryway here also. So we'll start the rest of the masking process here, and hopefully it won't take me too long to get ready and we can get this sprayed. You can see there I've already got the window taped off. I did the same thing there. I put the blue painter's tape around the window frame first and then came back with the plastic and put over it, so I don't have to be so accurate. And that piece of tape in the center, basically what I did was I cut the plastic so it'd be a hole and then taped over it so the tape would stick to the frame and that thing wouldn't bellow in and out and rip away my paper or my tape. So I'll go back and check it one more time before we spray, but I did it that way. So I got the sides masked off and I used plastic, and I think that'll be good enough as far as for overspray. I really don't care if it gets on the fence, but I think it'll keep it from there. And I'm going to go ahead and spray the foundation where I'm doing the brick, but everywhere else I'm not. Okay, it's taken a lot longer than I thought, but I got everything masked off and plasticed off. I'll kind of give you a quick tour of that real quick, and then we'll get started on the sprayer and get my new sprayer out. I've already tested it, so I knew what the hell I was doing before I got on camera, at least I hope. But we'll start to lay some clear finish on this brick. You can see I got the door all plasticed off. Got the eaves done. Took off the fixture and got that done. I took off the switch plate down there, or outlet plate. Put this big sheet of plastic up over the slit in it so I can keep the door open and go in and out and it won't get in there. Then on the ground I got cardboard set up. I got the sidewalk here, or the entryway, masked off because I'm going to spray it too. This clear shield is what I'm going to use to seal the brick. I've got 3 gallons. I'm going to hope 2 gallons do it. I'll mix this up. There's my Titan HEA 1900. It's got 50 foot of hose. I've got every tip that you can get for it. I'm going to use a 313 tip today. Since this is my first time doing this, I don't want to get a big spray pattern. I want a smaller spray pattern so I can kind of control what I'm doing. Since this is my first time using this, if I was experienced, I'd use the 5, I think it's a 515 or 517 that I have. So I'll get the camera set up. So I'm going to use my respirator for this and this monkey suit because I really don't want any of this stuff all over me. And I'll just show you spraying. Okay, that went quick and fast. As you saw, I had that paintbrush. I was back brushing areas that had runs or got heavy, but it worked really slick. It was a little hard over there where them bushes are, but it went real easy. I can already tell some of the brick's already soaked it up. It's dry. So it won't surprise me if this takes 3 coats. And it don't look like I probably used more than a gallon. So I may have enough to do 3 coats if I need it. So I'm gonna get this all cleaned up, wait a couple hours and hit it again. Okay, it's been about an hour since I sprayed. And you can see kind of a line there where it looks wet and where it's dry. And I think because this is where the sun shines on this brick and just beats on this brick so much that it soaked all that stuff up, whereas in here you can see it looks like it got sprayed. And like I say, this doesn't get the sun back in here, so it didn't get bleached out. But all this brick here, that's why I'm wondering it may need a 3rd coat. So when I go to spray the second time, I went up and down when I sprayed. Second time I'm gonna go side to side, so if I have any spots I missed, it'll get them covered. I used that 313 tip, and I think that worked fine, and I'll keep that. I don't think I need a bigger tip, but I'm gonna give this probably about another hour, and we're gonna spray a 2nd coat. Okay, so I put on the 2nd coat. I didn't bore you with a video of me spraying that, but as I had said earlier in the video, I did go the opposite direction. So when I sprayed it the first time, I went up and down, and the second time I went side to side. And so I left my masking and everything on and let it dry overnight because I didn't know if I was going to need a 3rd coat. And when I come out, you can see it doesn't look much different from a distance. But I'll get you a close-up, and when you get up here, you can see it kind of glistens and sparkles, and you can tell that there's a coating on here. And when you feel it, it has a nice, smooth kind of feel to it. So I know there's something on there. And just like in the first spray, I back brushed anything that got heavy or had runs. And I'll tell you, on the 2nd coat, I had a little more back brushing to do, which tells me, you know, that I did have product on there that had soaked in and was doing what it's supposed to. But you'll be hard pressed to see what I did is to test if I needed a 3rd coat, was I got out my brush and the product itself, and I painted it on 2 areas on this facing of the brick to see if I could tell a difference. Because if I could have told a difference as to, okay, yeah, I need a 3rd coat, I would have done so. But you'll be hard pressed to tell me where I put a 3rd paintbrush on there. I can't tell you now. I can just give you general ideas. Like I did it here, and I did it here. And so you really can't see a difference. But I'll show you on the inside. I was looking for it to be a little more like the brick on the inside. And the only thing I can think of is this brick here and over there and on this side and the face of the house gets the brunt of sun all day long, every day. And basically the brick has kind of gotten bleached out, if you will. And this is what it's going to look like. Now, before some of you comment that, oh, it's because you didn't clean your brick very good, that's not the case at all. I've probably pressure washed this brick 5 or 6 times. In fact, the last time before I sprayed this, I actually took soap and water with a little bleach and hand scrubbed with a brush all of this to get any dirt down in, grime, anything I could get out to make sure I had it perfectly clean, and rinsed it very, very, very well. And I let it dry for about 3 days before I even tried to spray it to make sure it was good and dry. And when I was first pressure washing this, I'd get some of the dye coming out with the pressure washing. I didn't anymore now that on that last washing. And so I may not have mentioned as to why I wanted to spray the brick and seal it. Well, here in Texas, a lot of these, or at least in this Houston area, a lot of the houses don't have gutters on them. And the reason is they want that rainwater to run off and pour down right at the foundation, because the soil around here is a heavy clay base, and so it will shrink and pull away from the foundations pretty bad. And so with the rainwater, they want that water right there, so it'll cause that clay-based soil to swell up and stay close to the foundation, so they don't put any gutters on. And because of that, this part of the brick all right in here would be black from the material that come off of the roof. Because of that, I was having to clean this brick 2 or 3 times a year to get that stuff off of there. And so my hope is with this coating that stuff will come down, hit, just run right off, and I won't have to worry about that. The other thing I did, which I didn't do in the first video, and actually I forgot, is I sprayed this entryway. And you really can't tell, but you can feel when you feel it, and when I walk on it and it's wet, I can tell there's something on here. And you can kind of tell here on this inside corner, I'll show you, and maybe a little bit down right here, as I went ahead and sprayed it. But what I did on this is I sprayed it twice in one go. Basically, I went one direction as far as I could reach, and then I went back and went the other direction, so that it got basically 2 coats on the whole thing in one spray, because I didn't want to get everything out just to spray this a second time if I didn't need to do another coat on the brick. So the brick on the inside here, I don't know if you can tell, but if you look at it, at least in person, this part here has a wet shine to it. I'll get over here in the shade. But this brick here has a darker look to it. And I was kind of hoping all of it would be like that, but like I said, I don't think it did, because of how the brick out there gets bleached every day and day out with the sun on it. Now, I didn't really go over the materials I used when I was doing the first part of this video. I was kind of hurried through trying to get it sprayed and get 2 coats on it in one day. But as you saw in the first of the video, I'd taken blue tape and basically taped around the edges of everything. And what I used was I basically used frog tape, blue 1.5 or call it 1.4 inch frog tape. It has the paint lock or paint block technology in it. It has a 14-day removal time on the tape, so I knew I was going to be well within that, and I used this. I do have UV resistant tape, and I was going to use that, but I read on it, it appears that it's extra sticky, and I was concerned it was going to peel the paint off of the newly painted garage door trim, so I didn't use it. As it is, this tape here did very well, but it actually peeled off a lot of paint off of this door jamb, which I'm okay with that because I haven't sanded and got this ready to paint, but it tells me I've got a lot of work to do because this paint obviously isn't stuck on very good. As you can see, I just peeled off a piece, and I'll need to get all that ready. So blue frog tape, and then the manila stuff is basically just a contractor pack production type tape. It has like a 3-day removal, and I just use it to tape up all my paper onto everywhere I needed. And then the green stuff I use, this was not green frog tape. Actually what this is, it's a masonry tape that has a 5-day removal. And that green tape you see that's on the brick or on the concrete, that was this, and it wasn't the green frog tape. The hand masker I used is a 3M, let's call it M3000, and I did use the frog tape on this because that's what it came with. And the first bit of paper I used was 9-inch. You can get 9-inch, this is 12 now, and I got a roll of 15. And I used the 12-inch up around the eaves so I could get it up high enough almost to the shingles, one go, to cover everything, and it did very well. Then the plastic I used in here around on the sides was 6 foot. It comes in 9-foot lengths also, and I have that, but I had the 6 foot and that worked just fine. And then when I went to spray, I put on the monkey suit because I didn't want any of this overspray on me. I used safety glasses so I didn't get it on my glasses or in my eyes, and then I used a respirator, and it's a 3M respirator. These are P95 filters. Worked very well. I didn't smell any of the product through it, but I will tell you, with this and that monkey suit and the glasses on, it got very, very hot in the sun in that thing. I mean, I was sweating like nobody's business, and so when I got done spraying, that's all I could do to hurry up and get out of that thing so I could breathe. But worked very well. I got them all at Sherwin-Williams. Like I say, they have blue bucket sales a couple times a year. Look for those, and you can get all this stuff at like 30% off. The other thing I used that I kind of briefly touched about was my Airless sprayer. The Airless sprayer was a Titan 1900. It comes in a 1500 and a 1700. I got the 1900. It's an HEA, or high efficiency, and the reason I got that is because I'm not looking to go into business and painting, so I didn't need a $2,000 Airless commercial type sprayer. But I did need something that was going to hold up, work well, be a good machine, and last, even though I may only use it a dozen or so times. But I went with the HEA because they really boast about no overspray. And when I was using it, I can tell that I didn't have a lot of overspray blowing around. Now I'll have to look at the video when I edit this and see, but as I was spraying it, it had very little overspray, and so I didn't have to worry about it getting on my neighbor's house. Now my car and my truck, I did get out of the driveway and put it down just a bit upwind from where I was spraying, so I didn't have to worry about it. But as I was spraying this, I was looking at the spray to see what sort of overspray I had, and honestly, it looked really good. I didn't really see a lot, so I'm happy about that. Also, that was the very first time I'd used that, the very first time. And you see, it was very user-friendly. It worked very well. It's something that probably anybody could use. You just have to read the instructions. It tells you how to primer it, the pump, and then to spray. You can get about 7 different tips with it. They come from a 2 to a 6. The tip I used was a 313. You know what that means is the 3 part of that means at 12 inches away, your spray pattern is going to be 6 inches wide. So a 2 is a 4, a 5 is a 10, and a 6 is a 12-inch spray pattern. The second 2 numbers has to do with the orifice size, so it's 13, so it's 13 thousandths is what the orifice, and I think my biggest one is a 619, so it's 12 inches wide with 19 thousandths. And that's going to be obviously for thicker product. And now I could have used the 619 on this. It gave me a lot of product really quick, and I had to be careful about it. But the reason I went with a 313, and yes, it may have taken me just a little bit longer to do it, is that because it was my first time using it, and I wanted a little more control so that I didn't have a lot of product going on, because I didn't want to use the 619 and go to spray this and it just globbed all that stuff on, because I didn't know how to move fast enough. I'd be back brushing the whole thing and might as well just painted it. Which leads me to the next thing, is why didn't I just hand paint this? You'd probably got it done faster than spraying it, which, I don't know. So let's see. I think it took me probably, let's say 30 minutes. I haven't really looked at the time on the tape, but let's say it took 30 whole minutes to spray all of this each time. That's pretty quick. You can't paint all this in 30 minutes, but how about your prep time? I think it took me probably 2.5 hours to tape and mask everything off and get it ready. So 3 hours. Let's just say I had 4 hours in this. Total, with the prep, the first coat, and then putting the second coat on. Now I'm not going to count the time in between, because you'd have to wait in between on whether you brushed it on also. But let's say I had 4 hours into this. I guarantee you to brush all of this brick twice would have taken you longer than 4 hours, and would have been a lot more tedious than it would have been to spray this. So that's why I did it, and I'm glad I did. It really worked well. It gave me kind of a prelude, if you will, as to how to use it before I use it to paint my house, because I am going to paint my house with it. So Titan HEA 1900. I actually got that off of Amazon. I got it at a really good price, and I'll leave a link. There's a link up here, and I'll leave a link down below of the unwrapping of that. You can go back and watch that if you haven't seen it, where I talk about it and all the tips. But for this part of the project, I'm really happy. It turned out well. It looks good. And so that's the end of this project. If you like this content and want to see more, hit the subscribe button down below and click the notification bell so you can be notified when the next video comes out. And we'll see you on the next video.